last time was basically learning some motivations for Oka's life, basically, how she is trying her best to honor and live up to her parents. And Hanyu's basically like, just live your life. And yeah, let's just continue on, see where it goes from here. The cloudy sky looked like it would start falling any minute. I frowned at the humidity and turned into my astral form. There's no question that it would start raining soon. I didn't have to worry about getting wet in my astral form, but rain dampened my spatial awareness, so I normally didn't take walks in it.
とはいえ、桜花がこの天気に気づいているかどうか。
If if was with that thought. If was with that thought. That can't be right, right? I'm not even inebriated right now, and it's making me feel like I am. If was with that thought, I stopped my sword training. I think it's just supposed to be with that thought I stopped my sword training. Left the forest and went down to the animal trails that led further in. Then, before returning to the ritual storehouse, I decided to take the road that passed right by the Furude estate. Oka had left the laundry out to dry this morning, so I decided I'd let her know about the incoming rain, just to be safe. Oddly enough, Oka was very dull when it came to changes in the weather for some reason. As a child, I would frequently see her getting depressed for not having, depressed for not having noticing, not have, how do you, not having noticing, that's not right? For not have noticing, I guess. Rain on a day she left the laundry out, ruining her clothes. I tried to warn her many times, yet this was the one aspect she never showed any signs of improvement in. I wonder why.
まあ、いいのだけど。
Even if she wasn't sensitive to the weather, it didn't seem like any real cause of concern to me. In fact, it was rather charming that she had a clumsy side like that. And besides, I enjoyed helping her out with little things such as this, like a mother.
そういえば。
I suddenly remembered my conversation with Ota yesterday. According to her husband, Shoji, who had been away from the Furude home for a while, was finally returning from the school by the castle. Shoji was a very sincere man who valued family, much like his mother Shino, and Ota, who had originally grown up with him like his sister, was naturally very close to him. But recently, he'd been frequently absent from Onikafuji because he was studying agriculture under her grandfather, Ritu's father. Thus, he'd left the shrine in the care of Ota and their daughter, Fuka. This would be the first time the whole family would be together in months, and so all three of them would be in lively spirits, thus making it likely Ota wouldn't notice the rain. Though it might make for a funny conversation topic if she screws up and panics over her mistake. I unconsciously smiled at the thought of Ota and her family making a ruckus together. After walking for a while, I could see the exit of the forest. The estate would be just a stone throw away once I got through there. All I had to do was then talk to Ota in secret and get her to take down the laundry. It was with that thought I headed into the Furude garden and checked if anyone was there. Just then,
そうね。
Shino. I suddenly heard a voice off in the distance.
誰？
Secret Shino meeting? Curious, I focused hard and looked around. If the voice had been coming from inside the house, it would have been one of Oka's family members, but the person sounded like they'd come from somewhere farther away.
じゃあ、境内から？
Good hearing. As if to confirm that, I heard a voice coming from the small path that led to the shrine grounds. It seemed there were two talking, both sounded like women. I maintained my astral body as I headed in the direction of the voices. The closer I got, the clearer I could hear the voices, Both of them belonged to people I knew well. One of them was Ota, of course, and the other was...
あの声は。
I spontaneously sped up and quickly arrived right before the shrine grounds. Then I hid behind a thicket and peeked out from the edge of the shrine grounds over to the gate. Two women were facing each other in front of the gate and talking. I didn't even need to strain my eyes to make out the familiar red and white outfit on the first one. And she was talking to
やはり
old
シノか。
Shino. Shino Kimiyoshi, me and Riku's irreplaceable friend and now Ota's mother-in-law. Her features were the same despite how much time had passed. However, perhaps due to exhaustion that came with 20 years of responsibility, faint wrinkles were carved into her forehead and cheeks. From what Ota had told me, since her husband, the mayor, was in poor health, Shino had tentatively taken over all his duties. And perhaps because of the wisdom that came with age, her face had lost some of its former frankness, and now gave off a more composed aura.
しかし、何を話しているのだろう。
I felt a prick of anxiety at that little question. Shino talking to Ota wasn't particularly strange, though it wasn't every day. She so frequently came over to check up on things and bring food over. I'd witnessed that a number of times myself. However, it seemed Shino couldn't see me either, much to my sorrow, and thus at some point I started avoiding her.
それにしても、
The looks on their faces were tense. Just what could they be discussing? Just then.
それでね、オウカ、昨日言ってた人、結局助からなかったわ。
Dun dun dun. Someone died. My heart pounded when I heard Shino grimly speak those ominous words. Very ominous. She did not say who it was.
死んだ？
What was happening here? A bad feeling crept down my back, and a chill ran over me like I'd broken out into goosebumps. There was a clear sense of unrest about. I got even closer to the two of them, held my breath, and listened in on the conversation. And then...
またですか。これで今月だけで
Oh, someone's killing.
もう20人は超えている。
Serial killer.
私もジョーカーの医師や
Oh,
寿司にも掛け合ってみたけ
no.
れど、
It's a disease.
こんな疫病は見たこともないって。正直、そんな。
Ota fell speechless and put her hands over her mouth, as if to say she couldn't believe it. If Shino was saying something that hopeless, then it must have been really bad.
何か良い治療法はないのですか？近しい症状を出す疫病の薬を投与するとか、とにかくいろいろと試してみては。それもダメ。クス氏の話を参考に、それこそ考えつく限りにやってみたけど、効き目なし。それに薬は高価なものばかりだから、確証もないところにやたらと大金はつぎ込めない。文字通りの万策尽きた状態よ。じゃあ他の感染者が助かる見込
Is
み
this
は。
the first signs of the Hinamizawa syndrome, maybe?
残念だけど現状では絶望的ね。
Ota gripped her sleeves, slumped her shoulders, and hung her head when she heard that. Unable to say anything to comfort her, Shino held her tongue with a grave expression.
疫病。
It seemed the two of them were talking about a disease that was ravaging the village. And not only was it a mysterious plague, it also had a fairly high mortality rate. No, it was worse than that.
このままだとこの村は
Rip?
滅ぶ。
Sorry, she was dramatic pausing. My bad.
この病に感染してしまうと高い確率で死に至る。しかも治療法は判明していない。一方で感染者の数は日々爆発的に増えている。
これだけ危険な条件が出揃っていると、有効な対処法が見つからない限り最悪の事態もあり得るわ。ただでさえ田畑や水源地は病死した人の死骸で埋まって、作物の見込みも絶望的だし。
Bury them, bro. Burn them.
最悪の事態。みんな死ぬってことですか？
Yo, this is the real Hinamizawa disaster right here.
もちろんそうなり
No
たいために
artificial stuff.
全力を尽くしている。これでもこの村を任せられている身ですもの。何とか他の可能性にもかけてみるつもりだけど。
Shino stopped herself there. She didn't dare say the rest. No, it was clear from the look on her face that she didn't want to say it. Shino just said they'd taken all possible measures, and knowing her, I knew she'd been running around all this time, even prepared to use her personal savings. But even so, it hadn't worked out, which meant the only way left was to abandon the village and find a new place to live. However, that truly was only their last resort. Even if the healthy evacuated the village, it was unlikely they'd be able to find a place that could house so many people. In fact, if there were already other people living there, it was clear there'd be strife for sure. Don't bring your disease here. We don't have the land and food to support refugees. It was very plausible that there would be deaths from more than disease for reasons like that. So much blood could be pointlessly shed. Even so, this village was descending into such peril that they'd have no choice but to select that terrible future.
何か他にいい手が見つかればいいんだけど、今はまだ。あなたも気をつけなさいよ、王家。今でこそ病気もなく元気だけれど、もともと丈夫な体ではなかったんだからね。
昔の話ですよ。ご心配には及びません。
それに庄司は男だからいいとしても、
True.
不安なのは風花よ。
Children are more susceptible to that.
この漢方薬、
Chinese herbal medicine. Surely that'll do
二
something.
人にも飲ませておきなさい。気休めにしかならないかもしれないけどね。
すみません、お母様。でも
私たちのことは大丈夫。なんとかやっているから。子と孫の心配をするのは当然なことよ。それじゃ
Damn.
また来るわ。
Shino handed over a medicine pouch with those parting words, gave Ota a light tap on the shoulder to cheer her up, and then left. Ota silently watched as she descended the stone staircase. She sighed and looked up at the sky.
私はどうすれば。
Can't really do much, to be honest. I could hear sorrow in her voice. She dripped the medicine pouch Shino gave her as she stood still by the shrine gate, looking so feeble that a gust of wind could knock her over. My heart wrenched when I saw that.
王家、
I shifted it into my physical body, approached her from behind, and called out. Ota looked over her shoulder at me and gave me a sad smile, as if she could just tell by looking at me that she wouldn't be able to pretend nothing was wrong.
羽生いたのね。
はい。
いつから？
一人が死んだとシノが話したあたりからです。
そう。
Ota frowned again and hung her head without saying another word. She looked even smaller than she already was, and it hurt just to see how feeble she seemed.
大変な事態が起きているようですね。
私も今知ったの。 ただの季節変わりの風邪だって聞いていたのだけどね。お母様が私に心配をかけないように話を小さくして伝えてくれていたみたい。だけど
I could figure out the rest for myself. The fact that Shino had finally come clean with Ota meant she had already prepared herself. In other words, she was ready to take their last resort, to leave Onidofuchi village and find a new home. So long as the source and cause of the illness remained a mystery, it wasn't safe to keep staying in the village, so all they could do was evacuate the healthy villagers.
しかし、それを話せば、王家はきっと反対する。
There's no way that Shino didn't know how attached Ota was to this village. That's why she kept trying to find whatever other way she could until the very last minute. And it was because Ota could now understand what a harsh and painful decision it was that she couldn't bring herself to reject Shino's proposal.
この村を出ていく。出て行かなきゃいけない。父様と母様が守ったこの村を私たちは捨てて。
王家。
羽生はどうするの？
そうですね。
I mean, there's not really much you can do. If Ryu Auk was here, maybe she could, like, analyze the disease and come up with a cure or something, but otherwise, kind of just have to leave, I guess. Onidofuchi village held a lot of memories for me, too. Riku, Shino, Ryoo, and Ota. The memories of the times I'd spent with them were the most precious in my life. However, even if the village was abandoned and became a ghost town, it wouldn't prove all that much of an obstacle for my mission. It'd be sad, of course, but Ryo's functions were still operating for the time being, and there were other Lionoses around the land. Besides, even in the event that Ota and her family left the village, I'd go with them. Then, as long as they could find a new home, I intend to assist them with their lives there.
私は今、この村のではなく、あなたの守り神です。ですから、これからもあなたと共にいるつもりですよ。
ありがとう。
Ota smiled happily when she heard that, but her face was sad and feeble. She probably felt that my presence would soothe her, but what she wanted was clearly something else. And it seemed that she had already realized that it was something she had to acknowledge as well.
あなたには本当にいろいろと助けられたわ。8年前だって。そうだわ。羽生。
What?
はい。
Just then, Ota suddenly jolted her head up, spun around, and faced me. Her eyes were full of hope and expectation. And since this reaction had been triggered by the words 8 years ago, I could guess what she was about to say.
お願い。あなたの力、もう一度私に貸して
I
く
don't
れない
think we know what happened 8 years ago.
何でしょうか。
Unless I'm just misremembering.
薬を作ってほしいの。
She did used to have the medicine that, like, regened you really fast. I don't know if that would work on a disease, though.
村人のために。
ええ、そうよ。子供の頃、死の病にかかった私を救える薬をあなたは作ってくれたでしょ。
8 years ago, Ota was suddenly bedridden with illness. The disease was so serious that it caused the whole body to break out into rashes, maintained a long fever, and eventually turned from labored breathing to respiratory failure, leading to death. There's no treatment or medicine for it. Victims could spend 2 to 3 weeks towing in line between life and death, use up all their stamina until their fever broke, and the majority would die of exhaustion. That was the sort of illness it was. So when Ota came down with the illness, the villagers quarantined her and didn't dare approach her for fear of getting infected. Only Shino tried to nurse her back to health, with no fear of the illness, but Ota politely refused, not wanting to get her sick too. And so, I watched over Ota in her bedroom until I couldn't watch any longer, and decided to use Ryo's remaining functions to create medicine for her.
死の病から運よく生還しても、そのものの体には醜い跡が残ると聞いていた。だけど、あなたの薬を飲んだ私は何の跡も残ることがなかった。だから私、これが神様の力なのかと驚いたわ。
Ota wasn't the only one surprised. Everyone thought she'd never recover from the illness, only for her to rebound healthy as ever. The whole village was astonished, as if they'd seen a ghost walking around in broad daylight. Shino herself trembled with shock when she heard about Ota's recovery, but once she saw for herself Ota was alright, she broke down crying and hugged her so tight you'd think she'd never let go. This story spread through the village as a miracle of Oyasho-sama, leading to increased donations and faith in the shrine.
あの時のように、あなたの神様の力を使って、今この村で流行っている病を治す薬を作ることはできない？どうなの、羽生？
できます。
だったら村人全員分の薬を作ることもできる
It's a
の？
lot of people, though.
はい。
Oh, okay, there you go. I could go to Onidafuchi and use Ryo's remaining functions to analyze the plague and create medicine. That's all it would take. The illness of this world were surprisingly simple and frail. Therefore, by mixing local plants and extracting the components from them, I could easily cure them. The village would likely be saved without any suffering. It would require a lot of them to make enough medicine for all the villagers, but with enough time I could definitely cure them. However,
よかった。それならお願い、羽生。この村を救うために薬を作って。
できません。
boom.
申し訳ありませんが、それはできません。
Ota looked back at me in shock. Though she had been begging me, deep down she probably hadn't expected me to refuse. After all, I'd done anything she asked of me, up until now. Some of her requests had been difficult, but I would take them on so long as I was capable of it, even if it meant pushing myself, and I never regretted it.
だけど、
Even I had things I could not do, because I was not a real god. If I were a god, I would have no fetters, behave however I pleased, and do anything at my own discretion. However, I had fetters. Can we get the definition on what fetters is? I actually don't know. Fetters, or fetter. A chain or a manacle used to restrain a prisoner, typically placed around the ankles. Restrained with chains or manacles. Okay, it's actually just that. A restraint so severe that freedom to move. Okay, so it's just like she has a lot of strong restraints. There you go. No, it was precisely because we were omnipotent in this world that we had taboos.
そんな。どうしてなの、羽生。
それは私たちの掟だからです。
They're all going extinct anyways. Just do it. Fuck it. An absolute law that had been placed on all Ryuan when we immigrated to this world, to coexist with native intelligent life and to never interfere more than was necessary. We, Ryuin, came to this world simply to immigrate from a destroyed homeworld, not to invade. Therefore, we advocated coexisting with the natives, and even those who lost their bodies nominally descended to this land via co-prosperity through assimilation and began living new lives. Any Griffeys who exhibited radical or invasive behavior were subjected to elimination in the light of the law, and I hunted them down as part of my duty. But, on the other hand, using Ryuin technology to solve problems unrelated to the Griffeys was sternly admonished as a slighting of the land's culture and causality. As a result, even if it was possible for us to save humans from rampant diseases and natural disasters, we never once lent them a hand. Bro, I bet drinking the medicine made them susceptible to Hinabizawa syndrome. And I think this is just like a random ass play. I think. That's what I'm thinking now. Fate enjoyer Hanyu back at it again.
本来時間をかければ治るものでした。ただ、それまでの間、そして治ってからも苦しい思いをさせるのが忍びなく、私はその手助けをしただけ。
So actually, that wasn't true. Oka would have almost certainly died from that illness. However, I decided to use a loophole in the law to give Oka Ryuin medicine based. Oka was half Ryuin, therefore she had a right to take our brethren's medicine. Call it a selfish interpretation if you will, but I still took that action to save Oka's life. Naturally, I never told Oka about that, and so I couldn't afford to make this current case an exception.
しかし、この病を根絶すれば、本来死すべき者が生き、定められた運命に逆らうことになりましょう。それは、この世界に移住した私たちには許されない行為なのです。
なら、この病で村人が死ぬのは運命だというの？この村が滅びてなくなるのは仕方がないことだっていうの？
そうとは言いません。ただ
何？人の命を救わず見捨てることにどういう理由があるのよ。
It is what it is, Oka. Unlucky. I instinctively flinched when Oka retorted in an enraged tone. She wasn't wrong. You didn't need a reason to save lives. Because that is the conscience that proves we were born with reasoning, and the least commitment we can make to live with others besides ourselves. People may be saved by others in times of distress, so if you expect that goodwill from others, then you should do the same should you find this shoe on the other foot. That is a mortal doctrine that requires no religious maxim to understand, and it is why humans are able to live in groups with others who have different values from themselves.
ねえ、羽生。必要とされることをやって、できることをやって何がいけないの？どこがおかしいの？それに、掟や決まりは人が幸せに暮らすために定められたものなのでしょ
？Not exactly.
だったらどうして
But kinda.
あなたの言う掟は人が不幸になることを是とするのよ。
王か。
羽生、あなたは病を治すことができるのでしょ？薬を作ることができるのでしょ？
Yep.
だったらどうしてそれをやってくれないの？
I mean, we just told you.
あなたの力
So, he is gonna do
い
it.
い命
So.
が救われて、この村が滅ばないで済むのよ。それなのになぜ？
Oka's words were right and just. Then I remembered how I had once challenged the Ryuin elders and Ryoo on the same thing.
我らハイリウンを名乗る者は竜の
True.
神とこの世界の人間たちの融和と安寧を図るのがその役目と義務であったはず。 武力の発展が文明を育てるか。だがそれまでに出なくてもいい犠牲が生まれ、血が流れる。
That is why I did what I could to protect my brethren and the natives. The duty assigned to me in accordance with the goal was to hunt griffies. So even if I did save people with medicine made with Ryuan technology, the result would be the same, wouldn't it? The only difference would be that the threat was an illness, not griffies. One could very well make that argument. However...
王か、あなたは人を救うということをまだよく分かっていませんね。あなたの言う通り、私の処方した薬でこの地に蔓延している病を駆逐することは可能だと思います。ですが、田畑はどうです？
Well, you can't make medicine to save the crop fields?
シノの話だと、病で息絶えた人や動物の死骸
Oh,
で、
yeah.
と土は激しく汚染されてい
They're
る。
not infected, it's just that, oh, this shit is fucking up the land in general.
ということはおそらく今年は例年以上の大凶作となる。この食料不足の問題に対してあなたはどのような対策を講じるつもりですか？
I doubt what she's saying, but like curing the village, like even though it wouldn't change that, it would be better than nothing. Plus, you know, if all the villagers were healthy, then maybe they could work on this crop food shortage together. I think that's what she's saying, like, oh, it can fix part of the problem, but not the whole thing. Yeah, well, fixing part of the problem is better than not fixing anything.
それは
You're getting gaslit, Ota. Don't listen to her. Ota managed to barely swallow her words and awkwardly looked away. She didn't even need to say it. She'd probably come to me asking again for my help in providing food. Which I don't even think Hanyu can do. Because they don't really need food. But, I don't know. I'm just saying, but if you cure everyone, then it's easier to solve the food problem, I guess. Or, I mean, that's technically, if you let them die, you don't need as much food, but, you know. That was simple to imagine even now.
もちろんその時になって助けを求められても、私ならあなたの期待に応えることができます。この村すべての人たちが1年間食いつなげるだけの量はなんとか揃えてみせましょう。
Oh.
でもその後、病と飢饉で同様に苦しんでいるであろう周辺の集落が
Village
鬼ヶ
attacks.
淵村には食料があると聞きつけたら、
And we'll square up and we'll need Hanyu to, kill them all. Yeah, but, like, it's their problem, dude. Fuck them. Those people would almost certainly beg Onidofuchi village for aid. But this village obviously wouldn't be able to provide others with food when they barely had enough to get by as it was. So naturally, conflict involving the food would arise, and in the worst case scenario, would lead to stealing and massive bloodshed. Which would be larger in the end. The number of casualties from that, or the number of casualties who are actually supposed to die of the illness. But considering how bad the illness is, it could easily be the illness part, to be honest. I know she said massive bloodshed, but I don't know how massive it's gonna be. Seems like a little overreach.
分かってください、王家。過ぎたる技術や得意な恵みはかえって無用な争いを呼び、不幸の元ともなりかねない。村人すべてを本当の意味で救うというのならば、
That's
その先のことまで考えを
That's true.
巡らせなくてはいけない。ただこの病をこの村から追い
It's
出す
still fine though.
話ではないのです。
She should think about what to do after, but it's still fine to cure them, man. Hanyu's trolling.
そうね。羽生の言う通りだと思う。分かっている。それくらいは理解できるつもりなの。
But, Ota said, raising her head, She wore the saddest expression I'd ever seen from her. In it dwelt a sense of powerlessness and a hatred and resentment of irrationality.
あなたが以前に奇跡を見せてくれ
Don't
た
get
なら
miracle pilled. You hate to see it.
それに頼ってしまいたくなった。自分たちだけなら諦めてしまったことも、あなたなら何とかしてくれるかもって思って信じ、
そうか。
期待してはいけなかったの。あなたに頼ってはいけなかったの。何もできなくて諦める絶望と、できるのに使えない悔しさはどっちが辛いと思う？
それは
こんなことなら奇跡なんて知りたくなかった。あなたの頂上の力の存在を私は
Damn.
知りたくなかった。
Get blamed, on you.
そうすれば諦められたのに、仕方ないって自分を納得させられたのに。
Ota's words painfully cut me deep to the core. Was she saying it was a mistake to learn of my existence? Kind of, yeah. That she wouldn't hope for miracles if she hadn't met me? It sounded as though she begrudged and denied our chance meeting, which made me sad.
奇跡は実際に起きた瞬間から奇跡ではなくなる。
That's a bar. I knew it was too late, but I ruminated over the warning the elders had given me. That which was meant to die wouldn't die. That which was meant to be destroyed wouldn't be destroyed. That act would truly destroy the law of cause and effect and make light of the native civilization. But if you abused powers considered supernatural in this world and made them possible, those who benefited and suffered from them would come to mistake them for inevitabilities. Any technology or knowledge that easily alters the future without verification and understanding has a high risk of causing problems. In fact, there had been those who sought them and caused conflicts. Therefore, it was strictly forbidden to intervene with problems meant to be resolved by the natives, and I had indeed done that before. Though it was on a small scale, the one who'd violated that law was none other than me. And my mistake of carelessly giving Ota hope was the cause of her current despair.
ごめんなさい。オーカ。
Ota. Ota kept biting her lip, turned around and hung her head in response to my apology. If you're sorry, then help me out. Her feebly trembling bat seemed to be saying that. Even so, I... Just then. Futa! What the heck? A little girl suddenly ran out of the forest and raced over to Ota as soon as she saw her. Damn, it would have been really funny if they showed a Futa sprite and it was just Rita again, like the tiny Rita again. This girl was Futa, Ota's daughter. That face of hers, so resembled a young Ota, was wet with tears and full of fear.
フーカ、どうしたの？一体大変なのです。お父様が
Not the father.
あなた、どうしたのですか？
Well, now Hanyu has to make a choice. Realizing Futa's panic wasn't normal, Ota hurried back to the state, got up on the veranda, opened the door to the living room, and became shocked. Shoji, Ota's husband, who had only come home yesterday, was lying on the tatami floor with a look of agony on his face, groaning as sweat rose to his forehead.
あなた、お父様。
ってくるな。
When he saw his wife and daughter trying to run over to him in a panic, Shoji mustered his voice and shouted at them, and then...
王家、頼む、風花を連れてこの屋敷を出て行くんだ。
どうしてそんな。
Ota looked like she was about to cry when her husband suddenly told her to get out. But when she saw Shoji's face, she gasped. Unfocused eyes, unnatural levels of sweat, and jaundice that covered his face.
まさかそんな。
早く出て行くんだ。母さんに連絡して、お前たちはその先本家へ行け。
そんなことできるはずが。
いいからやるんだ。お前と風花にこの病を移すわけにはいかない。
あなた、庄司兄様。
Why'd you say it like that? Ota desperately grabbed at Futa as she kept trying to run over to her father, all the while standing still and sobbing with none of her usual composure anywhere to be found. Impossible. To think my husband would catch the plague. Now, and you really have to make a decision, man. Horrifying images flashed through my head. Shoji had only doted dearly on Ota ever since he was a child. Shoji had doted dearly on Ota ever since he was a child. He was a kind brother. Even after she started living at the Furude house, he'd get worried and come over to check on her and help her with her housework many a time. And after they got married, and he became her husband, he was always considerate of Ota and helped her with her shrine duties. Someone that dear and irreplaceable to me is going to die? Going to leave me? No, I don't want that. I can't accept it. I don't want to accept it. With that thought, Ota told Futa to stay still in the garden and ran over to the shrine grounds to see the only one who had the power to salvage the situation. I was sitting on a stone in the shrine ground when Ota suddenly ran over to me gasping for air, her hair disheveled. For a moment, a look of hesitation appeared on her face when she remembered what happened earlier, but she shook it off, got on her knees, and bowed down before me, her head on the ground. I gasped, overwhelmed by her intensity. But judging from how Futa had been acting earlier, and Ota's panic and plea, I quickly understood the situation.
庄司があなたの夫が感染したのですね。
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい、羽生。私は薬をみんなに配れば、この村から病気がなくなって、すべてが解決すると思っていた。だから、あなたに指摘されたとき、本当はあなたにじゃなくて、自分に腹が立った。悔しかった。情けなかった。みんなを救うってご大層なことを言っておきながら、そこまで考えが至らなかった自分が浅ましくて愚かしくて。あなたの言う通りよ、羽生。私は本当の意味で村の人たちを救う配慮も覚悟も全然足りていなかった。
そうか。
And yet, when I was shown just how little thought I put into any of it, my mind went blank, and I got confused. I instinctively flew off the handle and even had the gall, just seemed as low as to blame the one who pointed that out to me. Some daughter of the Furudes I am. Some reincarnation of Oyasho-sama I am. For all I admired my parents for, I completely failed to understand the essence of any of it. When I heard Ota constantly blaming herself like that, my heart stunned. She truly was a kind girl. Because even though I was the one who led her astray, she regretted her own mistake, reflected on it, and was able to apologize.
でもあの人は違うの。庄司兄様はこの村を少しでも豊かにしようと懸命になって農学を学ぼうとしている。私よりもずっと鬼ヶ淵村のみんなの幸せのために頑張っている人なの。だから死なせたくない。絶対死んでほしくないの。お願いします。もし運命が人の命を必要としているのなら、だからあの人を救ってください。お願いします。お願いします。
Ota's voice was so choked with tears. She couldn't even speak anymore, but she kept prostrating herself and begging. As I silently watched that, I realized once again how much Ota cared for Shoji.
お願いだから庄司兄様を。
風花はどうするのですか？あの子には母親が必要ではないのですか？
父親だって必要です。
Well, don't literally kill Ota, just heal Shoji.
それに私のように視野の狭い親のもとで育つよりも庄司兄様ならきっと。
When I heard that, I recalled how Riku had once said something similar. Yes, now that I think about it, he told me something when I was pregnant with Ota. That to marry someone and deny the life you were blessed with would be to deny yourself. It was just like then. I didn't want Ota to deny her meeting with me. And I didn't want to deny my reunion with her either. In that case, what I needed was resolve. To not let a new tragedy occur through my choices. And to accept it and take responsibility for it all the way to the end, even if it did come to pass. I steeled that resolve. I gently called out to her as I took a medicine pouch out of my sleeve. Then I knelt down to the ground right next to the groveling Ota and held it out to her. Doesn't she need to like analyze the plague and create medicine for it though? Well, it's a little sketchy, but I guess it's better than nothing.
薬が出来上がるまでに力尽きては意味がありませんから。夜明けまでには間に合うと思いますので、それまで何とか持たせてください。
それじゃ。
I shrugged as I quietly, yet affirmatively, nodded. And once I saw Ota's eyes shining with hope in addition to tears, I was convinced I wouldn't regret this choice.
でも忘れないでくださいね。私の言ったことを。それから王冠。
はい。
久しぶりに薬の処方を行いますので、少々量を間違えてしまうかもしれません。その時は残った薬の処分をお願いします。
I nodded to Ota again, turned my back on her, and left Furude Shrine. I headed for Onigafuchi, where Ryo's functions remained. Thank you. Mother. She knows! How? Well, we're gonna end it here, though. Pretty dark turns of events. A freaking plague hit the village, but we shall see what happens with the medicine and what consequences can it possibly bring. I still think like maybe this is why they get Hinamizawa syndrome for like eating alien medicine, and then like it just passes through generation to generation. Maybe, I don't know. We shall see. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for some more Higurashi. Later.